It's been over 60 years since The Great Escape, 1963, thrilled audiences with its daring story of courage, resilience, and freedom. The all-star cast, led by legends like Steve McQueen, James Garner, and Richard Attenborough, brought the World War II classic to life, making it one of the most iconic films of its era. But what happened to these remarkable actors after the credits rolled? Who went on to Hollywood greatness, and who chose a quieter path? In 2025, we look back at the heroes of The Great Escape, their unforgettable performances, their real-life journeys, and how their legacies continue to inspire generations today. Steve McQueen was born on March 24, 1930, in Beech Grove, Indiana, and at 33 he took on the role of Captain Virgil Hiltz in The Great Escape, 1963, the rebellious Cooler King, whose motorcycle stunt became one of cinema's most unforgettable acts of defiance. That performance didn't just make McQueen a star, it cemented him as Hollywood's embodiment of danger and seduction. Behind that icy confidence lay a boy abandoned by his alcoholic mother and abused by stepfathers, a childhood so brutal that he joined street gangs just to survive. McQueen grew up angry, distrustful, and addicted to adrenaline. Those wounds followed him through fame. On set, he was volatile. He fought with director John Sturges over screen time and demanded rewrites to ensure his role outshined co-stars like James Garner. His obsession with control made him feared and revered. McQueen's life off-screen was a carousel of women, cocaine, and paranoia. After Sharon Tate's murder, he carried a loaded pistol everywhere and suspected the Manson family had him on their kill list. He was arrested for drunk driving in Alaska, addicted to cocaine and barbiturates, and known to humiliate younger actors. His biggest professional humiliation came when he turned down Apocalypse Now, believing it would fail, a decision he later called career suicide. His 3 marriages collapsed under infidelity and abuse rumors. His last wife, Barbara Minty, later revealed his violent temper and fatalist obsession with death. By the late 1970s, his health crumbled. He sought experimental cancer treatments in Mexico and died there on November 7, 1980, from a heart attack after surgery, at 50 years old. At death, his estate, filled with luxury cars, rare motorcycles, and ranch property, was worth around $30 million. Even now, McQueen's myth remains golden, but beneath the rebel icon was a man forever escaping a prison built by his own ghosts. Richard Attenborough was born on August 29, 1923, in Cambridge, England, and was 40 when he portrayed squadron leader Roger Bartlett, Big X, in The Great Escape. His character, the mastermind of the breakout, embodied discipline, intellect, and moral courage, a mirror of Attenborough's own gravitas. Yet the man behind that composed exterior harbored shadows rarely spoken of. Raised in a household of scholars and reformists, he lived in the intellectual shadow of his younger brother, David Attenborough, the famed naturalist. Richard's childhood was disciplined but emotionally cold. He once confessed to feeling like a ghost in my own family. His acting career flourished after World War II, but his ambition turned ruthless. He feuded publicly with directors and allegedly blacklisted rivals during his years running Shepperton Studios. Known for his genteel voice, he was privately prone to explosive rages. His crew on A Bridge Too Far called him a tyrant in tweed. His greatest artistic triumph, Gandhi, 1982, came after nearly 20 years of financial struggle and emotional breakdowns. At one point, he mortgaged his house twice to fund it. He often wrestled with guilt over his own privilege, devoting decades to charity, yet privately admitted that fame had alienated his family. The cruelest blow came in 2004 when his daughter Jane and granddaughter Lucy drowned in the Indian Ocean tsunami, a tragedy that shattered him. Afterward, he withdrew from public life, his health declining under the weight of grief. He died on August 24, 2014 in London, just 5 days shy of his 91st birthday, from heart failure. His estate, worth about $20 million, included art collections, film rights, and his Sussex mansion. Though history remembers him as a knighted filmmaker, Attenborough's story is one of brilliance born from loss. A man haunted not by scandal, but by the unbearable weight of survival. James Garner was born on April 7, 1928, in Norman, Oklahoma, and at 35, he starred as Flight Lieutenant Robert Hendley, the Scrounger, in The Great Escape. His character's charm, wit, and loyalty mirrored the man himself, though behind that smooth smile lay scars from a violent upbringing. Garner's mother died when he was 4. His stepmother beat him bloody until he ran away at 14. That quiet rage later fueled his screen confidence. After serving in the Korean War, where he earned 2 Purple Hearts, Garner turned to acting almost by accident. Yet Hollywood soon discovered his rare mix of humility and magnetism. His career, however, wasn't without turbulence. He was blacklisted for years after suing Warner Brothers over unpaid royalties from Maverick, a move that nearly ended his career but exposed the studio's corruption. Though he rarely courted scandal, insiders knew him as stubbornly outspoken. He despised pretentious actors, calling Charles Bronson a miserable bastard, and refused to attend Academy events, believing awards were bought. Beneath his calm surface, Garner fought constant physical pain from stunts and lifelong depression that he treated with marijuana, admitting later it saved him from suicide. His 57-year marriage to Lois Clark was steadfast but stormy. He once disappeared for months during a separation, and rumors linked him to co-stars, though none were confirmed. In later years, strokes and heart disease weakened him, forcing his retreat from the public eye. He died on July 19, 2014, in Los Angeles, from a massive heart attack, aged 86. At his death, he left behind an estate of roughly $20 million, including Malibu property and classic cars. Garner's legacy is that of the anti-Hollywood star, a rebel of quiet integrity who proved that decency, not scandal, could still command the screen. Charles Bronson, born November 3, 1921, in Ehrenfeld, Pennsylvania, was 41 when he played Danny the Tunnel King Valinsky in The Great Escape. The role of a claustrophobic POW digging for freedom reflected Bronson's own buried trauma, born from years of suffocating poverty. One of 15 children of Lithuanian immigrants, he grew up in a one-room shack without running water and began working in the coal mines at 10. His childhood was brutal. He endured hunger, ridicule, and violence, once claiming he never owned a new pair of clothes until he joined the army. The psychological scars forged the stoic, intimidating persona that later defined his career. After World War II, he drifted through odd jobs before finding acting, though Hollywood initially rejected him for his coarse looks and broken English. His rise was fueled by rage and discipline. Colleagues described him as both magnetic and merciless. Off-screen, Bronson was intensely private, bordering on paranoid. He distrusted agents, rarely spoke to journalists, and was infamous for storming off sets when disrespected. His marriage to actress Jill Ireland was both passionate and turbulent. They lived a life of wealth and isolation, haunted by jealousy and control. When Ireland died of breast cancer in 1990, Bronson spiraled into grief, becoming withdrawn and uncommunicative for years. He later married Kim Weeks, a union marked by quiet tension and the slow onset of Alzheimer's that eroded his legendary composure. Bronson's greatest professional humiliation came with the 1987 flop assassination, which critics mocked as a parody of his former glory. Despite this, he remained one of the highest-paid actors of the 1970s, earning up to $1 million per film and amassing a fortune through shrewd real estate investments. He died on August 30, 2003, at age 81, from pneumonia and Alzheimer's complications at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. His estate, worth about $65 million, included Malibu mansions, Montana ranches, and a valuable art collection. To this day, Bronson remains an enigma, Hollywood's ultimate lone wolf who turned pain into power and silence into legend. James Coburn, born on August 31, 1928, in Laurel, Nebraska, was 35 when he portrayed flying officer Louis Sedgwick, the manufacturer, in The Great Escape, 1963. His role as the ingenious Australian POW who built escape devices out of scraps reflected Coburn's effortless blend of humor and stoicism, turning him into the epitome of 1960s cool. Yet, his smooth confidence masked a brutal reality: a childhood plagued by poverty, bullying, and emotional neglect. His father, a garage mechanic, was stern and volatile, while his mother struggled with mental instability, leaving young James to fend for himself emotionally. That lonely resilience became the core of his persona, but also his curse. Coburn clawed his way through Hollywood with charisma and menace, yet his perfectionism made him a nightmare on set. He alienated directors with arrogance, once storming off the set of Duck You Sucker after clashing with Sergio Leone. Though adored for his macho style, he suffered in secret from crippling rheumatoid arthritis, which twisted his hands and nearly ended his career. Desperate, he turned to experimental treatments, acupuncture, and even LSD therapy under the guidance of New Age healers, earning him the nickname Hollywood's Shaman. Behind closed doors, his temper and insecurity corroded relationships. His first wife, Beverly Kelly, endured years of jealousy and verbal abuse before their bitter divorce. His son later revealed Coburn's emotional coldness left deep scars. Still, he staged a comeback in the late 1990s, winning an Oscar for Affliction, though insiders whispered he lobbied aggressively for it, desperate to reclaim lost relevance. On November 18, 2002, Coburn died suddenly of a heart attack at his Beverly Hills home at 74. His fortune, around $10 million, included vintage cars, Malibu real estate, and art collected during his bohemian years. Even in death, Coburn remained an enigma, a man who conquered pain but never outran the emptiness it left behind. James Donald, born May 18, 1917, in Aberdeen, Scotland, was 46 when The Great Escape premiered in 1963, where he portrayed Group Captain Ramsey, the senior British officer, calm, composed, and unyieldingly principled even under Nazi captivity. His portrayal captured the essence of quiet leadership, earning him respect from audiences who saw him as the moral backbone of the film. Yet behind that dignified screen persona was a man plagued by fear, self-doubt, and deep emotional repression. Born into a conservative, financially strained family, Donald grew up in a household where affection was scarce and achievement was everything. Mocked in school for his thin frame and stammer, he developed a lifelong insecurity about his worth. After his early-stage success, he became disillusioned with fame and often clashed with directors who criticized his detached demeanor. His perfectionism bordered on obsession. He was known to rewrite his lines in secret, leading to tension on the set of The Bridge on the River Kwai. In private, Donald battled loneliness and a secret dependence on sleeping pills that began in the 1950s and intensified as his career faltered. A disastrous investment in a failing West End theater left him nearly bankrupt in the 1960s. His marriage to Elsie Gray was polite, but cold. Colleagues later said they rarely saw him smile in her presence, and rumors circulated of a hidden affair with a much younger actress he met during a London production. By the 1970s, his health deteriorated due to chronic asthma and depression, forcing him into near isolation in Hampshire. He spent his later years making wine and refusing interviews, bitter at the industry that had forgotten him. Donald died on August 3, 1993, from stomach cancer at the age of 76 in West Tytherley, England. His estate, valued at under $1 million, included his vineyard, vintage manuscripts, and modest savings. Though his fortune was small, his legacy endures as that of a man who embodied grace on screen, yet carried a lifetime of silent torment behind closed doors. David McCallum, born September 19, 1933, in Glasgow, Scotland, was only 30 when he portrayed Lieutenant Commander Eric Ashley Pitt. Dispersal in The Great Escape, 1963. His quiet intelligence and subtle heroism made him the emotional heart of the film. A man who worked in shadows, ensuring others' freedom. The same could be said for McCallum himself, a man of immense talent who lived most of his life behind a veil of restraint. Born to celebrated classical musicians, he grew up in a home filled with brilliance but devoid of affection. His father's temper and constant criticism instilled in him a crippling need for approval. Trained at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, he struggled for years to break through Hollywood's snobbery toward British actors. Success came with The Man from UNCLE, but fame quickly soured. Overshadowed by co-star Robert Vaughn, McCallum was bitter over the media's obsession with his looks rather than his craft. His personal life unraveled when his first wife, actress Jill Ireland, left him for Charles Bronson, his close friend. The betrayal devastated him, especially as Bronson's career soared while McCallum's waned. In interviews, he masked heartbreak with humor, but friends recalled long nights of drinking and self-recrimination. His second marriage to model Catherine Carpenter eventually grounded him, and he found solace in music, writing, and quiet philanthropy. Still, his career hit lows in the 1980s, forcing him into minor TV roles before his resurgence as Doctor. Ducky Mallard on NCIS, a role that restored his dignity. Despite decades of celebrity, he avoided extravagance, living in the same modest home in Manhattan for years. On September 25, 2023, McCallum died peacefully of natural causes at age 90 in New York, surrounded by family. His estate, valued at $10 to $12 million, consisted of art, royalties, and rare instruments. In the end, McCallum's legacy was not scandal or excess, but grace. Proof that even in a world addicted to noise, quiet brilliance endures longest. Donald Pleasence, born October 5, 1919, in Worksop, England, was 44 when he portrayed Flight Lieutenant Colin Blythe, the forger in The Great Escape. His fragile, soft-spoken character, who tragically loses his sight, became the emotional heart of the film, deeply affecting audiences who sensed real pain behind his performance. That authenticity came from lived trauma. During World War II, Pleasence served as a pilot and was captured by the Germans after his plane was shot down, spending over a year as a POW, a period that left him psychologically scarred. Raised in a strict working-class home under a domineering father, he developed early emotional detachment and channeled his turmoil into acting. Fame came slowly, but when it did, it consumed him. Colleagues often described him as a genius obsessed with failure, an actor who accepted nearly any role out of fear that work would vanish. His career included over 200 credits, yet many of them were low-budget horror films he later regretted. Pleasence's darkest years were fueled by alcoholism and panic attacks. Friends recalled him trembling uncontrollably before major scenes. His personal life was equally chaotic. 4 marriages, all collapsing under infidelity, jealousy, and neglect. His third wife, Mara Shore, once accused him of living only through his characters. Pleasence's biggest professional humiliation came when producers of THX 1138 cut most of his scenes, leading to a public confrontation that cemented his reputation as volatile but brilliant. Despite the chaos, he reinvented himself in the 1970s with the Halloween series, reluctantly embracing commercial success he once disdained. He collected antiques obsessively, reportedly keeping hundreds of vintage pocket watches and paintings in his French villa. Pleasence died on February 2, 1995, at age 75, from complications after heart surgery in Saint-Paul-de-Vence, France. At his death, his estate, worth around $10 million, consisted of film royalties, London properties, and a private art collection. Even now, his colleagues describe him as a haunted genius, a man who escaped captivity but never escaped his own mind. Nigel Stock, born September 21, 1919, in Malta, was 44 when he portrayed Flight Lieutenant Dennis Cavendish, the surveyor, in The Great Escape, 1963. His performance, methodical, calculating, quietly stoic, reflected the discipline that defined his entire life, both on and off screen. Yet behind that calm exterior was a man haunted by ghosts of war and the slow erosion of identity. Born to an English army officer and an Irish mother, Stock's childhood was strict and loveless. His father, a cold disciplinarian, sent him to boarding school at age 6, where he endured bullying and isolation, learning to mask pain behind obedience. When World War II erupted, Stock enlisted and served in Burma, where he witnessed atrocities that left deep psychological scars. Those who knew him claimed he returned from war a different man, given to sudden silences and bursts of rage. Acting became therapy, a way to control the chaos within, but his obsession with precision often made him unbearable on set. Co-stars recalled him as a perfectionist who berated assistants and stormed off rehearsals if others missed a line. His career was steady, but devoid of glamour. Hollywood ignored him, and he became trapped in the typecast roles of stiff British officers. In the mid-1970s, when he was replaced last minute from a major BBC role he had trained months for, friends said he spiraled into alcoholism and paranoia, convinced the industry was conspiring against him. His personal life was equally unstable. 3 marriages, each ending in bitterness. His second wife accused him of infidelity and controlling behavior, while his children described him as emotionally distant. Despite his demons, he continued to work tirelessly in television and theater, quietly respected but never adored. On June 23, 1986, he died of a heart attack at age 66 in London, alone in his flat, his body discovered 2 days later. His modest estate, residuals, a small London home, and war pension was valued between $1.2 and $1.8 million. In death, he was remembered as a craftsman, a soldier, and a man consumed by the ghosts of discipline that had once defined his art. Angus Lenny, born April 18, 1930, in Glasgow, Scotland, was 33 when he portrayed Flying Officer Archibald Ives, the Mole, in The Great Escape. His small stature and infectious enthusiasm brought heartbreaking realism to the role of the cheerful Scottish flyer who cracks under despair, a reflection, perhaps, of Lenny's own hidden turmoil. Born into a working-class family during the Great Depression, he was relentlessly teased for his size and accent. He developed a quick wit to deflect cruelty, performing comic monologues in pubs before joining the theater. Acting was his rebellion against insignificance, yet the industry typecast him mercilessly. Despite critical praise for his emotional range, he was often reduced to comic relief roles, earning a reputation as the best supporting man never seen. His off-screen life, though free of major scandal, was marred by loneliness. He never married and lived for decades in the same modest London flat filled with film memorabilia. Those close to him said he struggled with mood swings and self-doubt, often vanishing for weeks after production wrapped. In the 1970s, his mental health deteriorated following his mother's death, leading to hospitalization for exhaustion and severe anxiety. He rebounded briefly with television fame as Shuggie McPhee in Crossroads, but he found the role humiliating, feeling trapped by its comedic tone. Financial mismanagement by an agent in the 1980s nearly bankrupted him, forcing him to sell his car and rely on theater work for survival. Friends described him as generous yet intensely private, a man who loved company but feared vulnerability. In later years, he was seen walking alone in Hyde Park, feeding birds, preferring solitude to the noise of fame. Lenny died on September 14, 2014, in London at 84 from pneumonia. His modest estate, worth under $1 million, consisted mostly of savings and personal effects. Though never a household name, he left behind a legacy of authenticity. An actor who made laughter a shield against despair and whose fragility, like Ives's, made him unforgettable long after the final curtain. Gordon Jackson, born December 19, 1923, in Glasgow, Scotland, was 39 when he portrayed Flight Lieutenant Andrew MacDonald in The Great Escape, 1963. The role of Intelligence, a disciplined, analytical officer who oversaw the logistics of the escape, perfectly reflected Jackson's natural gravitas and quiet strength. Audiences admired his poise, unaware of the inner battles behind that calm exterior. Growing up in industrial Glasgow as the youngest of 5, Jackson faced ridicule for his stammer and poverty, often withdrawing into books and radio dramas to escape the harshness around him. His mother's mental instability and his father's emotional distance left deep scars, shaping his lifelong perfectionism. When fame arrived, he found it hollow. Beneath the gentlemanly charm was a man prone to anger and self-doubt. In private, Jackson drank heavily to suppress anxiety, a habit that escalated during his years on Upstairs, Downstairs, where colleagues described him as both brilliant and brooding. His tendency to challenge directors and rewrite dialogue earned him a reputation for arrogance. A fierce argument in 1973 with producer John Hawksworth nearly cost him his role, saved only by fan outcry. Behind closed doors, his marriage to actress Rona Anderson endured infidelity rumors and long separations caused by his workaholism, though the couple maintained a public image of stability. Jackson's greatest professional humiliation came when he was passed over for a leading role in a major BBC drama in favor of a younger actor, an event that reportedly pushed him into months of depression. Diagnosed with bone cancer in the late 1980s, he continued working, hiding his illness from nearly everyone except his wife. He died on January 15, 1990, in London at age 66, leaving behind 2 sons, modest property holdings, and an estate valued near $1.8 million. To his peers, his legacy remains that of a man who fought relentlessly for control of his image, his speech, and his demons, until control itself slipped away. Judd Taylor, born February 25, 1932 in New York City, was 31 when he played Second Lieutenant Goff, one of the 3 Americans in The Great Escape. His character added youthful idealism to the film's somber tone, yet Taylor's own journey was far from idealistic. Raised in poverty after his father abandoned the family, Judd spent his early years drifting between apartments, working odd jobs while studying drama at Columbia University. He entered Hollywood with sharp intelligence and ambition, but the industry was merciless. Though handsome and talented, he was labeled too cerebral, often losing roles to more conventional leading men. His career's lowest point came in 1965, when he was abruptly fired from a film after rejecting the flirtations of a powerful producer's wife, an incident that quietly blacklisted him for years. Disillusioned, he pivoted to directing, where his strict professionalism earned both admiration and fear. On set, Taylor was a perfectionist, some said tyrant, known for fiery outbursts and obsessive retakes. He demanded complete control, once locking out an executive who tried to interfere during a shoot. Yet, behind that force lay deep loneliness. His first marriage collapsed amid long separations and accusations of emotional neglect, while his second wife described him as a man who never knew how to rest. He struggled with stress-induced insomnia and mild heart problems through the 1990s, but kept working relentlessly, directing over 40 TV movies and episodes of Star Trek, Law and Order and Murder, she wrote. His colleagues at the Directors Guild respected him for his integrity, but whispered about his tendency to manipulate studio politics. In private, he was more fragile than most knew, devoted to his daughters, but haunted by regrets of ambition and isolation. On August 6, 2008, Judd Taylor died at age 76 after a long illness in Los Angeles, his ashes scattered quietly by family. His estate, estimated around $3 million, included a Santa Monica home, royalties, and a prized art collection. Though he left Hollywood without scandal, those who knew him best saw a man who achieved everything he wanted, except peace. Hannes Messemer, born on May 17, 1924, in Dillingen, Germany, was 39 when The Great Escape premiered, playing Oberst von Luger, the stoic, conflicted commandant of Stalag Luft III. Audiences saw dignity and restraint in his performance, unaware that it echoed the torment of a man haunted by real war. Drafted into the Wehrmacht at 19, Messemer fought on the Eastern Front, was captured by Soviet troops, and survived a horrifying escape from a labor camp by walking hundreds of miles through freezing terrain back to Germany. The trauma never left him. He drank heavily, suffered nightmares, and hid a violent temper behind his cool exterior. Acting became both redemption and self-punishment. His precision and authority made him a fixture of post-war German cinema, but colleagues feared his volatility. He berated crews, fired assistants, and once slapped a director during a dispute. His personal life was chaotic. 4 marriages, all ending bitterly, punctuated by affairs with much younger actresses. Though respected, he resented being typecast as Nazi officers and longed to play more human roles. His biggest failure came in 1978, when his production company collapsed after financial mismanagement. leaving him nearly penniless and blacklisted by studios. Friends described him as a man at war with ghosts. In the 1980s, decades of chain smoking and heavy drinking caught up to him. He developed throat cancer that left his voice hoarse and his confidence shattered. By the time of his death on November 2, 1991, in Aachen at 67, from a heart attack, he was a recluse, alienated from his daughters and abandoned by the industry he had helped rebuild. His modest estate, mostly unpaid royalties and a single apartment, was a grim contrast to his on-screen authority. For many, Mesmer embodied Germany's wounded conscience, brilliant, disciplined, and forever atoning for sins both personal and national. John Layton, born February 17, 1936, in Frinton-on-Sea, Essex, was 27 when he embodied Flight Lieutenant William Dickes, the Tunnel King in The Great Escape, a youthful, idealistic pilot whose determination symbolized hope amid captivity. Audiences were drawn to his intensity and boyish defiance, traits that mirrored his real personality. Yet behind his fresh face lay a lonely childhood in post-war England. His father, a strict schoolmaster, imposed cold discipline, while his mother's emotional distance left him craving approval. As a teenager, Layton found escape in music, teaching himself to sing in secret. His 1961 hit, Johnny Remember Me, made him a pop sensation overnight. But the fame came with exploitation. His management underpaid him, and his emotional breakdowns were kept hidden behind the image of a perfect pop idol. When he transitioned into acting, The Great Escape gave him credibility, but Hollywood success proved fleeting. Producers found him too independent, and his refusal to play submissive to studio executives marked the start of his decline. A failed attempt to launch a U.S. career ended after a disastrous audition in which he allegedly clashed with Steve McQueen, whose ego dominated the set. The fallout damaged his reputation, and by the 1970s, Layton was nearly broke. He turned to television work, haunted by depression and bitterness over being forgotten. Though known for avoiding scandal, rumors swirled of affairs with married women during his touring days, one of which allegedly cost him a major record deal. In later life, Layton reinvented himself as a nostalgia performer, candidly speaking about his struggles with self-worth and aging in an industry obsessed with youth. His marriage to Diana, a private woman who shielded him from the tabloids, has been his longest constant. Now, 89, he lives quietly in West Sussex, surviving on performance royalties and savings estimated under $1 million. Despite modest means, he remains one of the last living links to both a golden age of British pop and one of cinema's most iconic war epics. A man who tunneled through fame and failure alike with a quiet, enduring resilience. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of The Great Escape and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions, so let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.